Hello and welcome to the third lesson of for Python for beginners. In this lesson, we are gonna see conditional statement and loops. Maybe we may continue the loops in the second part of the video, but before that, we are gonna check out the conditional statement, what are conditional statement, the basic syntax of a conditional statement, and some few examples on how to write the conditional statements in Python. So let's get started. You might already see that I fired my Jupyter notebook and let me show you what's there. I've already created the Jupyter notebook for this lesson so that I can save some time in typing and I could explain a lot more in detail for the course. So uh, in this course we are gonna see how to write an if statement, if else statement, and if elif and else statement. That is what called an conditional statements in Python. A prerequisite for this course, you need to be a beginner. Second, you should have a Python install system. While the third thing is knowledge on variables, which I already shared in my previous video. If you want to take that lesson, you can go back to the previous video and check out the course on variables and a notepad to take the notes. So what are conditional statement? These are used to determine which action to be taken and which statement to execute if the outcome is true or false otherwise. This is simple to understand because you are trying to do something if the condition is true, and if the condition fails, you are trying to do something else. That is what conditional statement do, and this can be done using if and else statement. So what are if else statement? If you write some condition colon, you print something, or you are trying to write some logic on those if statement. What if the condition fails? At that time you will write those business logic or the logic uh, in the else part, like else colon. So these are the mandatory things to be remembered while writing a Python if else statement. So I pointed out three mandatory things like indentation of if else. You could see that the if and else are right below each other, while whatever we are gonna write for the if condition, it should be intended one tab toward inside, and all the logic should be written inside if. And also for the else part, the same thing has to be maintained, and if and else should be just uh, below each other or something of the sort. So it should be in line, and whatever the logic is should be printed inside the statement. And also the colon part, while in most of the programming language we don't use any such kind of colon or something, but in Python it's mandatory to use a colon after the conditional statement. For example, if some condition, you have to specify the colon to make it understand that the if condition has been completed, and right below that are the logic for the if statement. And you once else has been written, you write a colon so that else statement has been completed, and you're writing some logic for the else statement. And you can use direct and or as well in your conditional statement for if and. So let's see some sample example to understand in deep how you can write your own if else statement. And also uh, I will prefer you to try it right now with me if you have some time. So let's see an example of what if a number, we want to check if a number is greater than 100 or less than 100. We have initialized a variable a equal to 100, and we are trying to check if a angular bracket, which is showing the greater than symbol, is greater than 100. And we have shown, as usual, we have added the colon symbol, which is a mandatory thing. We are trying to print that a is greater than 100. Else part, we have again added the colon symbol and trying to print a is less than 100. What do you think it should print here? As usual, a is less than 100 because a is not greater than 100. So what if I try to change it to 101? Yes, now it has been changed to a is greater than 100. But what if I make it, but based on this logic, you can see that a is equal to 100 and we are trying to check a greater than 100. What if we want to check a equal to 100 and we have to print out that a is equal to 100? So next example is based on that. If a greater than 100, we are trying to print a is greater than 100. And the next statement is elif. uh, if you have a knowledge of other languages, you might know that this is called else if. Else space if in Java, while in Python you will write as elif. A equal to 100 and a colon symbol, print a is equal to 100. And if it else part, which comes as default, if nothing matches, you will write this else statement, a is less than 100. So when I run this program, you can see that it printed a is greater than 100. Wow, how can that be possible? Because in this case you can see that the first statement is actually true. So when I try to make this change, sorry, and mm, and I'm trying to change it to reverse order, and because yes, I have to run this and I have to run this. So now you can see that a is equal to 100 because I changed it to 101 over here, and when I tried to rerun that, it was unable to check because it was a was set as 101, and uh, and it was printing like a is greater than 100, and when I set it back to 100, it's printing like a is equal to 100. So our example works pretty fine over here. So remember the colon symbol, and the alignment, like if should be elif should be just above if, and else should be just above elif. It should be in particularly in line, and whatever logic we are gonna write, it should be inside of the if or elif statement. Based on the previous learning, we are gonna write a simple basic calculator. The calculator is gonna add some value, subtract some value, multiply as well as divide. So it's a basic small application where you could try on your own. I have also added some practical problems so that you could try on your own to implement it. Okay, so you don't need to understand what is def. Actually, I have written a small method for calculator. So def calculator a b, and I am expecting an operation value. The operation value could be add, subtract, multiply, or divide value. So what we are doing here is we have created a variable with value equal to 0 to identify the value after the operation has been performed, and based on the operation value, for example, if operation equal to add, uh, we are trying to add a and b value and trying to print that value. If operation equal to subtract, we are trying to subtract a and b value and trying to print, and if it's equal to multiply, it will multiply the value, as well as if it's a division, it will divide the value and produce the result. Let's test the function. I will explain you what a function is in the later stage of tutorial, but for now you don't need to understand all this thing what, but you can just see how I have written the if else statement, and did we perform all the mandatory check for the if else statement. So when I test this, I pass A10 and B20. It says the calculator is not defined because I didn't run the method, and when I tried to rerun, this time it works because sum of 10 and 20 is 30, which actually is correct, and it printed the 30 as the output. And when I try to subtract it, it says subtraction of 10 and 20 is minus 10. Yeah, pretty right. And when I try to test for the multiplication, it says 20 and 20. Multiplication of 20 and 20 is 400. And also for division, 20 and 20 is 1.2. Here it printing the float point number. If you want, you can convert it to even an integer value. You might having a confusion like why I have written so many if statement while I could convert it to elif. Yes, of course I could create it to elif without an elif. What if I do this and I try to run? Yeah, it will perfectly run without any issue because but I don't have any else statement as a default, so I didn't add. You could add those elif as well to understand, like if an operation is false, it will go to the next to check if that kind of operation is already present. For example, if I mention something of like operation equal to mod, for the operation value, if I pass modulus as operation and it's none of it's present over here, it will get failed. And I think that's it for today, because we have two more practice problem which you can try on your own, like implement a feet to inch converter as well as implement a Celsius to Fahrenheit converter. I think you could practice on your own and try to implement the logic for writing feet to inch converter as well as Celsius to Fahrenheit converter. And if you have any doubt or facing some issue, you could probably comment below so that I could have a view on it. And if you need if you need any help, I would help you on that regards. And that's all for today's video. Thank you.